great, you know, I can escape what I do. And it was prior to the last album, so 2 albums ago. Long story short, I only went there twice, and everything just took off with Spinning Around a couple of years ago, and I haven't stopped. I literally haven't stopped. So it's been, I might as well have burnt cash. I completely screwed up with the house. Lost money. It was a terrible, terrible move.
But you might need it in the future because you're actually breaking in America now, aren't you?
It's looking that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And would that be a major ambition of yours?
It would have been many, many years ago, but for a long time now, it's just become lower and lower and lower on my list of priorities. Because I just thought you need to spend so much time in the States to cover and to get yourself known that I couldn't spend a year, you know, Kylie Minogue. Oh, you're Australian, right? And frankly, I'd rather put pins in my eyes than go through that for a year. But I always did say that, you know, no disrespect to them at all, but I always said if I did have a song that started to take off, why, it would be rude not to follow it up.
It would be very rude.
So I did go to the States, and we now have a top 10 here, and who knows what's going to happen from here on.
Well, when you look at your career, it seems to be evident that from a very early age you wanted to be in the business, didn't you? You wanted to be, what was it, you wanted to be a star or what? What was it?
Well, when I was 7 or 8 or 9 singing into the hairbrush, I wanted to be Olivia Newton-John, more to the point, in that black outfit in Greece. But no, I never, I mean, it's funny, Russell saying just before that he was chosen rather than him choosing to go into film. Yeah. And I feel that way about what I do. I landed a job, and then I thought I'd like to make a career out of this, so I signed on for the Dole, as you do. Yes. I'm going to be an actor, I must sign on to the Dole.
First thing you do.
And Neighbours came up in that time, so I never got a check. And no, I mean, you hear of people that say when they were really young, again, it's more an American thing, I think. You know, I was 3 years old and I just knew I wanted to be. I'd never had any.
You didn't have that at all.
It wasn't about being famous. It was about doing a job and.
Which you enjoyed doing, yes. But I mean, you couldn't have worked out, could you? I mean, I remember meeting you in Australia. Oh, it must have been the beginning of the Neighbours thing when it went to Channel 10. Because originally it was a failure, wasn't it? And
it was Channel 7. It was axed from one station.
Exactly. And then it went to Channel 10, and then it started taking off. But I mean, nobody could have. You couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine in wildest dreams what would have happened from that point on. It's extraordinary, isn't it?
Not at all.
And of course, what started all off was this amazing success that Neighbours had, particularly here.
I wish I could have been transported here to experience Neighbours at that time, because all I hear, even from people I've worked with for a number of years, the story will sneak out one day. They'll say, oh, by the way, the wedding, I was, you know, it was beauty college and all the girls had to nick off and, you know, skip a test or something. I mean, people come up with these incredible stories that
it caught the imagination.
That still surprise me.
Yeah. And then from that was the start of it. And 20 million people watched that or something like that. It was extraordinary.
Something like that. I always feel really grateful that whatever my beginnings were, I've turned them to my.
You have, which begs the question. I mean, how come that you didn't become disposable? See, what is it in you that's I mean.
Well, it's the $64,000 question. I don't know, and I'm more comfortable not knowing. I would probably mess it up. There's an immense goodwill towards me, and as you mentioned in the intro, with this living in this country and the way people have pretty much adopted me. I really don't know.
You see,
I think I try to be honest. I try to be myself.
It's not as if you see it's been an easy ride, because it hasn't been. Because when you know in the early days, the critics, you were their Aunt Sally, weren't you?
Oh, there were some great ones. Yeah.
Weren't there? The singing Budgie and all that stuff.
Yeah. And there will always be a tiny. I mean, it's so small, but there is a tiny place in me called rage, for that time and for, I guess, any things that happen these days that are just. The problem is being a celebrity or being in the media, it's not like you can go to the guy down the hallway in the office that you've got a problem with and sort it out, or say, look, I think you've misunderstood me, or indeed go and punch them out. Where do you vent this frustration, this
You did the clever thing, you see. You never let them see that it hurt you. That's the cleverest thing of all. And that's what you did. You might have not been aware you were doing it. You might be too nice a person to react. But that is the most galling thing of all to the critics, that you ignore them.
Well, I think even at that time there was still far more good that I enjoyed.
Well, I mean, also too, I mean, if you're, again, reading about you, I mean, it's interesting. There were one or two people who believed in you, weren't there, at the time? That you lent upon like some sort of rock. Michael Hutchins, if you read your life story, he comes out as a kind of hero figure.
Yeah.
Now, it's very strange that the perception of Hutchins now is very much different than the one that you had. But, I mean, how did he come in your life, and what did he do for you?
Well, I think anyone who has met Michael, when I'm doing interviews with a lot of people, obviously ask me about him, and I just, before I go any further, I say, did you meet him? Did you meet him?
I never met him,
Okay.
no.
Because he just was incredibly charismatic, very intelligent, generous, funny, fabulous storyteller. I mean, he just was larger than life, but humble with it. And I met him at a point in my life where I was just ready to look at the world, and it was like he took my blinkers off. So come to think of it, there was a time before we started seeing each other, he'd said he was in the studio, and I think it was de rigueur at that time to kind of slag me off as much as possible, and I think I came on the television, and so the people in this room were giving me a hard time, and he recalled the story to me, saying he stood up and said, no, I like her, I think she's really cool or nice or whatever he said, but saw something in me when it was not the cool thing to do. Yeah.
But I mean, but was he indeed a kind of Svengali figure? I mean, did he mould you? Did he shape you? Did he?
Yeah, he did. He was the closest person in my life at that time, and such a well, I was so impressionable and was more than happy to be guided by him. I mean, he never, just one of those amazing, I'm sure everyone finds someone in their life that can do this for them, or with them, I should say, where he just nurtured me. He never told me what to do, never said, you know, this is the way you should perform, or these are the decisions you should make, but just absolute belief in me.
Which gave you confidence.
Which did give me confidence, yeah.
Yeah. There's a downside to Michael Hutchins, of course, which you must have seen. There was the drugs and all that. But you never got involved. Again, this is interesting about you. You've survived as long as you have in the pop industry without falling into the many pitfalls that there are.
I'm basically quite straight and boring.
Well, you're not straight and boring at all. I mean,
well, as far as that goes, I mean, I like most people, had a little 2 or 3 year period in my life where I went out all the time, and I did experience some of those things.
Sure.
But it just doesn't suit me long term. I'd rather have my wits about me, and I just never really fell into it.
No, what about now? Are you going to get married shortly, or what do you think? No, but I mean, listen. I mean, you've been going, what, 2 years steady now, haven't you? Something like that?
Yeah.
And I mean, do you want children?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yes, I always try and just not say yes or no, because who knows? But I'm sure it will happen.
Can I ask you, how many proposals of marriage have you had?
Not too many.
But 2?
But I've never come close to saying yes.
You haven't, no. Is that because the most important thing to you is your career? Is that the?
It has been for a long time.
And will it be forevermore, do you think?
Well, this is my current aim for the future is to find better harmony. I love work. I love the people I work with, and now it's more challenging and more exciting than ever. I have neglected a degree of my my personal life, which is not good, and I berate myself for that, so I hope to try and fix that.
Well, as long as you're happy, I mean, whatever
Well,
it is.
yeah, I mean, I think those people that can see that I'm happy, and something like the Brit Awards, everyone else was crying as much as I was, people in tears everywhere.
What about acting, though? I mean, do you want to be? Do you think Hollywood's ready for another Australian actress?
Oh, I think they're doing quite well on their own.
Do you have any theories about why this is? Why you Australians are kind of taking over the entertainment world?
You know, don't ask me. I'm too patriotic. I think that we're great. So, you know, even the guy that won gold in the speed skating. Did you see that? That was hysterical. I mean, you know, shouldn't really say that. But
No.
there he comes through, and all the Aussies are still going, yay.
You won more gold medals than we did, that's for sure. But then, probably Albania and the Isle of Wight won more gold medals than we did.
But I think in general, Aussies have a really good attitude to work. All of the ones that I know, anyway.
Yes.
And you've got two guests on the show tonight that I'm embarrassed to talk about acting in front of, because you know they're two of the best in the business.
And the other thing too, just a couple of final questions. I mean, you've had this extraordinary business of reinventing yourself every so often. I mean, is that a conscious decision? I mean, do you sort of sit down and think, well, tomorrow I'm going to wear those gold hot pants and become somebody else? Whose inspiration, and inspiration is the word, were those gold hot pants?
The gold hot pants, I almost sent the gold hot pants out to do their own interviews, because at the time it was all about the gold hot pants. Fine, you go out and you do the work, okay? All I ever do is talk about you. They were just in my wardrobe. My girlfriend had bought them for 50p at some charity store or a market or something. And I'd been in LA at the house that was a disaster, having a fantastic time. And it was getting close to doing the video for Spinning Around. I'm getting more and more calls, more and more frantic. When are you coming back? We need to get this rolling. I'll just... Anyway, I arrived 2 days before the video, and I was with my creative collaborator and stylist, William Baker. And as usual, we're like, oh, okay. Theme, hot pants and a wink. Yes, that will do the trick. So we're... And he says, whatever happened to those old gold hot pants he had? Well, if you can find them, great, because they're somewhere in the wardrobe. He pulled them out, and so there wasn't a lot of thought behind those.
But there again, obviously, just little inspiration. It just shows with all the planning in the world, just one inspiration and one pair of 50p trousers, and what happened?
Best investment
25p a leg. I mean,